vinegar, that which you dip your things in bread. He liked it, and he ate it. Now, how can we produce vinegar as Muslims? You can't, because to produce vinegar, the middle product is always wine, always, and that's why when you purchase vinegar, sometimes it'll tell you red wine vinegar or white wine vinegar. And a lot of our Muslim sisters say, I can't buy this vinegar. No, it's completely halal. Doesn't matter if it has wine on the bottle. The vinegar is halal. It's simply the middle stage was that type of wine. And that wine would have been haram. But the final stage, it doesn't matter. All vinegar is wine vinegar. All vinegar. But obviously depending on how it came. So vinegar, you can drink it, you don't become intoxicated. So it's not khamr. But the middle product is khamr. So in Islamic lands, historically, it was always the Christians and Jews who made the vinegar, and we would buy it. We would buy it. Another example, a lot of times in Islamic lands, tanning an animal's skin. Because in some countries, you will use some type of najas to tan the skin, such as the urine, for example, you've used on the skin to soften it and then whatnot. Now, for us as Muslims, we cannot touch that urine. It is najas to touch. But other civilizations didn't mind. So a lot of times Christians and Jews will get involved in these businesses because it's lucrative. And they would sell it to the Muslims. It's halal for us to buy. But it's haram for us to do what they're doing, let's say. Similarly, when it comes to vanilla, it is halal for us to buy any product that has vanilla as a flavor in it. But the question arises, can we buy and deal with vanilla extract? And many scholars say no, some scholars say yes. Why? Because they say one looks at the cultural understanding of vanilla extract, which is that it is not khamr. Culturally speaking, vanilla extract is not alcohol. So you don't treat it as wine. And frankly, many of you who have vanilla extract in your houses didn't even know it is wine-based. Right? You're just finding this out because I told you. You had no niyyah to purchase wine. You didn't even know there's a controversy, and many say it's haram. It's not even known to you. Right? You're just hearing this from me for the first time. So because of this, a minority of scholars say it is halal because it's not being used as khamr. And because obviously the final product is not at all haram. Bottom line, there is a gray area. If you can find an alternative, and I need to look this up, there are alternatives, I just don't know where they're available. And those alternatives are vanilla flavorings that are not based on ethanol. Vanilla powder is an alternative.
Vanilla bean powder.
Can you buy a vanilla bean?
Yeah.
And then what, you grind it right then and there?
You get vanilla bean.
Okay, so without a doubt, if you can get these alternatives, vanilla powder or vanilla beans, and you do that, that would definitely be without a question, that would be halal. Vanilla extract, I don't say is haram. You just put it that way. I don't say it's haram. But no doubt a lot of people do say it is haram. I have so many questions here. Let me just finish up some of these here. For days mixed in previous Ramadans due to menses that were not made up, how do we make them up? Is there any kafara as well? You make them up by simply having the niyyah that tomorrow I'm going to make up one of those days of Ramadan, and then you fast it like a regular day. And you may make it up at any time of the year up until the next Ramadan. And some scholars say if you don't make it up until the next Ramadan, you have to pay a kafara as well. But there is no evidence for this. And inshallah, there's no kafara. But it's better to make it up before the next Ramadan. And if you want to be lazy and make it up in the December and January months, this is also halal. It's nothing wrong, because it's not as if you have to make it up the same month or whatever, because the Sharia did not require that. So as long as you make it up as soon as possible, that is the best. $800? 100 days. No, that is not the question, by the way. The question is, if they were not made up, how do we make them up? Well, I don't know.
5 years, like the 5 years after Ramadan.
So then you make them up as fast as you can. There's no time limit, and you just every few days or weeks you fast a few days, and you keep on making it up. So that's not a problem in this sense, because the double niyyah over here is not the niyyah of adding Ramadan to Shawwal. It's just Monday, Thursdays. So in this case, the double niyyah is fine. It's like the example of the one who walks into the masjid and has to pray 2 rak'ah fajr. So they can pray 2 rak'ah fajr, and that will count as tahiyatul masjid, because they don't want the reward of 4 rak'ahs. Whereas the 6th of Shawwal, you want the reward of 36 days. Right? So the Shawwal days cannot be counted as making up Ramadan. You see the point here? Whereas Monday, Thursday, you just want the reward of fasting on a Monday and the reward of fasting on a Thursday, which can be done from Qadha. Okay? Muharram and Dhul Hijjah are intended to be fasted on those days. So that is a blessed 10th of Dhul Hijjah, and therefore it is definitely best not to mix the niyyah of a qadha with the niyyah of the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. Sister has a prolonged menses due to IUD, and so sometimes she has menses of 10 days or more. So if you feel that these 10 days are menses, and that's something that is up to you and your doctor to talk about, because it is very possible that you have 6 days of menses and 4 days of extra bleeding, which is istihada. It's possible. Something you and your doctor need to discuss. If you feel these are 10 days of menses, then your menses are 10 days long, and you have to make up 10 days. The Sharia does not come with a minimum or maximum days of the menses. The Sharia does not come with a minimum or maximum days of the menses. It varies from woman to woman. And sometimes there are women that have menses of 10 days. This is not abnormal. It's not something that's completely out of the books. No. The books of fiqh mention 10 days, even 15 days. Yes, that is the reality. So if you feel that these are genuinely your menses, and the main sign that is always mentioned is the whitish discharge. If you actually get a whitish discharge after 10 days, then those are your menses. No question about it. If you get a whitish discharge after those 10 days, then and 10 days of bleeding, then those are your menses. But the problem comes if you don't get any discharge. If you get a discharge on your 6th day, and then some spotting, frequent spotting occurs, then the discharge is the end of your menses, and the 3-4 days is istihada. The problem comes if you don't get the whitish discharge, and it's simply spotting for the last 5 days. This is the problem, and I cannot answer you. Frankly, your doctor can. Simple tests can tell me, if you wanted to go that route. Or you can speak to your gynecologist, explain to them, and see what they say. Or you base it on your better judgment, and you just literally make a judgment call. This is not, you don't need to come to me or any, it's a judgment call. Do you think this blood is your menses or not? If it is, you're not fasting. And if you think it's not, then Allah knows your niyyah. And Allah knows you made the best judgment call that my menses was 6 days and 4 days of just erratic bleeding. Allah knows your niyyah was sincere, and you will not be held accountable. And you will base it upon what you knew at the time. Yes?
So let's say if you have a doubt, like you think, okay, 3 days is mine, 4 days is mine, and beyond that 4 days you see a little bit of spotting, you don't have the right discharge, so you're not sure, but your typical is 4 days, and you see something on day 5, after you've done your full and everything, you fast that day 5 without a doubt?
If you have a pretty regular habit of 4 days, then you stick with your pretty regular habit of 4 days. And you ignore the 5th day, little bit of spotting, we just ignore it. So regular habits are a trump card. Regular habits carry big weight for sisters. So whatever your regular habit is, it's okay to make an exception for a month or two based on your regular habit. Like, I always have it 4 days, the 5th day something happened, but I'm pretty sure it's just one of those irregular bleedings. Ignore it and move on. Okay? Yes, go ahead.
So in istihada, salah and marital affairs do not get affected.
Yes, in istihada, it is as if you're not bleeding. The only thing that is affected in istihada is that you need to do wudu before every salah, even if you didn't break it in any other way. That's the only thing that is affected. Okay? is the balgham from sinus. If swallowed, break the fast. And how about lipstick? Lipstick does not break the fast. Whether you should wear it or not is another issue. But lipstick does not break the fast. The balgham is, of course, the mucus that comes. It is makruh, but it does not break the fast. It does not break the fast because this is an internal within your body. And of course, saliva, by unanimous consensus, does not break the fast because saliva is the body's natural mechanism to lubricate the throat. You cannot not have saliva. Yes, go ahead.
If you're, for example, taking a walk and a dog came and passed by you or licked your clothing or licked you, do you have to shower before you pray or can you just change?
The dog that licks you,
Or
the licking of the dog is najis, not the body of the dog. So wherever the dog licks, that is where you must wash. You don't have to take a shower.
just wash, like when I was a kid, I was known that you wash that area 14 times.
14?
I don't know, that's what my father, we had a dog and that's what my father told us to do. But
No.
I'm asking.
The hadith mentions 7 times.
7, okay.
But in those days, washing 7 times meant like 1, 2. So if you put it in the washing machine, that's like 500 times. You know? It doesn't matter. So
How about if it's the hand or anything?
just wash it. It's fine. So the lick of the dog is najis, not the body of the dog. Okay, let me do one from here, inshallah. When does the time of suhoor end? Is it before Fajr time or after Fajr time? When does Fajr time end for praying? Is it the first sign of light? For example, what will be late for today's timing of Fajr? Okay, so the suhoor and the Fajr timings, when the one finishes, the other begins. So the ending of suhoor is the beginning of Fajr timing. So when you stop eating, that's when you can pray Fajr. Okay? And Fajr timing lasts from when you can see the first crack of light of dawn to when the sun rises above the horizon. Okay? So imagine the sun's rays coming from the other side of the earth, right? So imagine this is the horizon. The sun is coming up from the earth, okay? You'll see the sun coming. So there will be a point in time when the rays of the sun are seen across the entire horizon, straight. That point in time is the beginning time of Fajr. That point in time is the beginning time of Fajr and the end time of Suhoor. So you can eat, so the sun will set, obviously, go down, it'll be pitch dark. Then, maybe around, suppose Fajr is at 5:30 a.m., maybe around 3:30 to 4 a.m., you will, if you were in pitch dark desert, you will see the very beginning ray of light come. This ray of light will be vertical. And slowly it will get larger and larger and larger until it is flat. So this is the sun slowly, it's getting to the horizon. So when you see the vertical ray of light, that doesn't affect your eating or drinking, it doesn't affect your Fajr, nothing to do with anything. When the vertical light becomes bigger, bigger, until it becomes flat, that is the end timing of Suhoor, and the beginning timing of Fajr. So that is the beginning, and then you keep on waiting an hour and you will see the disk of the sun finally come up, and then the sun rises, and within a minute and a half the full sun will have risen, right? The sunrise actually takes less than 2 minutes. You will see the sun rise. Many of you have seen it within a minute and 45 seconds. Typically is how long it takes for the actual disk of the sun to come above the horizon. So the minute you see the disk, that is when Fajr time is over. Clear? Okay. So the question arises, now that we have, mashallah, mathematics down to perfection and astronomical whatnot, the question arises, how low does the sun need to be beneath the horizon for it to become that horizontal line of Fajr time beginning? You don't need a calculation to see the sun rising. Everybody can see that. But what is the angle? So you all remember your graphs from back in grade 9 and 10 or whatever. The straight line is 180 degrees, right? Call that 0 degrees, okay? The sun is rising upwards. How many degrees must it be at before we consider it to be the horizontal dawn streak, if you like? Here is where modern scholars have given different opinions. Some have said 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. some even less to down 13 or so. So if this is 0, so negative 15 degrees of failure, you get the point. A little bit down here, right? Or 18 is even more. So this is where we get the differences in our charts. One group of ulama says 18 degrees. And of course, if you say 18, this means the time is earlier. And this is what the other masjid in our community goes with, 18-degree calculation. ISNA, in our country, has gone with the position of 15 degrees calculation. And 15 degrees is obviously a few minutes after 18 degrees, right? So ISNA has set 15 degrees below the horizon. And that's the fatwa that we at MIC have also followed. And frankly, there is no right and wrong answer because it's a judgment call. It's a judgment call. So I don't have a problem giving the 15-degree fatwa. That's why when we came here and we went over this, I said, ISNA has said it, and ISNA is the largest body of America, and it's fine. Inshallah, make things easier, especially in the summer months. That becomes a difference of 20, 25 minutes. And frankly, for many of us, those 20, 25 minutes is a big deal at 4:30 a.m., right? So I don't see a problem in making the Sharia easy in this regard because it's not clear-cut. And our scholars have differed. So inshallah, 15 degrees is what we go by, and that is why our prayer timings are basically 20 minutes, I think, after the prayer timings of the other masjid. And inshallah, both are fine. If you want to go by the stricter timing, that is also fine. If I had the intention for tahajjud and left with it, I could not get up before Fajr, how can I make up this witr? You may make up your witr by praying it as Salat al-Duha the next day. And Salat al-Duha is between Fajr and Dhuhr. So 9, 10, 11 o'clock, you can pray that and pray it even and not odd. So you pray, if you were used to pray 3 rak'ahs of witr, pray 4 rak'ah, and that is your intention for making up the witr. And he has there, yes, go ahead.
What about Muslims? If they were long and you might swallow?
Nosebleeds do not break the wudu. Nosebleeds do not break the wudu and do not break the fasting. That doesn't matter because it's like your mucus coming in. You cannot prevent that. It's an internal flow. Okay, coming in. Can you recommend good resources in English to learn about the rulings of menses and women's issues? Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, my teacher, has a book on the ruling of women's blood issues, and it has been translated, but I don't know which publisher, but you can, I'm sure it's PDF even these days. As for women's issues of fiqh, I don't know of any book in English that has all the women's issues of fiqh. I'll have to look this up if I find something. You have?
There's a Huda Khatab, the Muslim woman's handbook.
Okay, Huda Khatab, I know the sister. She's a good sister. So if you can find the Muslim Woman's Handbook by Huda Khatab, I haven't read the book, but I would assume she has a good job done, inshallah. So if the menses finish, she does ghusl, and then she starts fasting, and then sees a small amount of spotting. Does she keep fasting or does she break it? So if she was certain that the menses finished, and she's certain by either the white is discharged, or by basing it on her custom, her habit, then she ignores the spotting. So once certainty has been reached, and as I said, certainty is basically, it's not 100% certain, it's like 80, 90% I'm pretty sure, what we will say in English, right? So don't make your menstrual issues bigger than they need to be. This is one of the biggest problems that sisters have. They think too much about these issues. And Allah knows your niyyah, and Allah knows your best judgment call. And I've said this many times before. Once you learn the basic rulings of menses, after that you really should not need to ask a scholar every single month. You should self-judge your own menses. Yes, you need to learn the rulings, and frankly I haven't done it yet, which is really embarrassing on my part, but I keep on delaying it because I keep on feeling it's going to be so cliched. Plus, imagine, I don't know if we advertise the fiqh of women's menses in MIC, it kind of doesn't seem, right. Maybe inshallah after Ramadan, that will be the first fiqh class, if you can remind me, because we still haven't done this, and we really do need to do this in a healthy amount of detail so that it's done once and for all. But once you've done that, after that, you should not be asking every single month. You should get with your own program and then make your own judgment call and then go with that, inshallah. Yes, sister, go ahead. No, you don't have to do wudu with it. It does not break the wudu. So as we said, that which intoxicates in large quantities is haram in small quantities. So beer is intoxicating. So even a spoon of beer or battered beer on the fish would be haram. Okay? If a woman gives birth during Ramadan, does the bleeding after childbirth break the fast? What did we say about this? Postpartum bleeding, take this as a general rule. Postpartum bleeding, the bleeding after you deliver, is the exact same ruling as menses in everything. Menses and bleeding after having a child are exactly the same ruling fiqh-wise. Everything is the same. If you get a migraine headache, or is it okay to break the fast basically, and will there be a kafara? You know best. If the migraine headache will worsen and it really makes life miserable, then there is an exception given. It's like a fever. And if you are able to bear a migraine headache until the end of the fast. So again, you know your habits best. And migraine headaches, some sisters can tolerate them, some sisters have them habitually, right? And some sisters might faint if it continues. So the Sharia does not want you to faint. If you really feel it's going to get very, very bad, then this is an exception, and you take your medicine Tylenol and water and whatnot, and then ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to forgive, and then you have to make it a kafara. Okay? So you are allowed to break the fast if you feel that your situation will deteriorate until it is physically harmful to you. Okay? Yes.
Nutmeg in large quantities can intoxicate in a way, and a lot of people are saying that it's haram, but I've been using it for years, a lot of people use it for years. What's your intake on that? I feel like it's how you're intending to use it, and on a dish you barely put like a small sprinkle.
So the exact same ruling that I said about vanilla extract applies to nutmeg, in that the final product is 100% halal, no doubt about it. But can you yourself use nutmeg? The same controversy applies to vanilla extract as it does to nutmeg. And as I said, I don't use it, it's being haram to use. My period typically lasts. So again, it's a very detailed question about her period habit, and if she has been having her period for 10 days for most of her life, then that is her habit. And she should get an expert's opinion, her gynecologist's opinion as well, because it is not the norm to get 10-day periods. It's not abnormal, but it's not the norm either. And so she should get her gynecologist's opinion about this as well, that is this something that is a regular period for me, or is this simply vaginal bleeding that is not related to the menses. And if she finds out that it is her menses, then a 10-day period, as I said, is not abnormal. Allah mentions in Surah Ahzab, Ahl al-Bayt. Who are the Ahl al-Bayt? In Surah Al-Ahzab, the Ahl al-Bayt, the family of the Prophet, they include the wives of the Prophet ﷺ and Fatima and Hassan and Hussein. So the family of the Prophet ﷺ includes the wives as well from the Sunni perspective. Of course, the Shia perspective says the wives are not a part of the Ahl al-Bayt. Yes, go ahead.
Hey, of late, you have noticed like the Clark brand of shoes. They, if you go to the website, they say that they use pig skin as the lining. So can we use those kind of shoes?
So pig skin.
Yeah, I have been using those shoes. I have never noticed that before, but like since like a year or so, I've been noticing that they say the lining is made up of pig skin.
So pig
I think
skin.
many other people don't even know that.
Yes, pig skin is haram from the majority of scholars, and it seems to be the correct position. That pig skin is always haram to use. So if you know that it has pig skin, then you should purchase another pair of shoes. Okay? Yes.
If you are in a state where you think you can fast and then you're just feeling yourself and then you're tired, so you need to break it. You do this like the rest of the month start Wednesday or Friday, see how far you can finish it, or breaking it completely.
So maybe rephrase it and say, if you are uncertain about how fasting will impact your feeding of the child, really the best thing to do is to begin fasting and see how it goes. As I said, the default is you're supposed to fast. So continue fasting. And then try to work around it by other means, expressing the milk at night or one bottle in the afternoon. If you genuinely are not able to cope and you realize that, today I just cannot do it, I'm very, very, feeling weak and nauseous and tired and my child is not able to feed right now, then you break for that day. You still try again the next day. Don't just immediately give up, because the default is you are supposed to fast in that period of time. And if you find that it is not happening, then you are allowed to then make the niyyah after 4, 5, 6 days. Say, okay, khalas, it's not really happening, so I'll have to, not fast for the rest of the month. It is something that you should not just give up on. You should continue to try. And also, it is possible that in some cases, a woman's body will adjust, and she will be able to feed the child, and her body will adjust that of the timing. So give it a few days. Even all of us, it takes a few days just to adjust in Ramadan, doesn't it, right? Even if we're not feeding, it takes a while to adjust. So give it some days rather than giving up, and inshallah, if it doesn't work, then yes, you can make a generic intention. After a few days of trying, okay, the rest of the month is not going to work, I'll just not fast for the rest of the month, okay? Final question from here, then we can open the floor for questions. When do you make up the days? Can you do the same days as fasting days of Sha'ban? I have heard yes and no. Can you give evidences? I don't understand the fasting days of Sha'ban. I don't know what this means, the fasting days of Sha'ban. But you should make up the days before the next Ramadan. If you mean, can you make them up in Sha'ban? Yes, you can. So you delay it till the very end, then you make it up? Yes, that is also, in fact, there's a hadith in Bukhari that Aisha radiallahu anha says there were times that I wouldn't be able to make up my fast of Ramadan up until Sha'ban of the next year. This hadith is in Bukhari, and this is Aisha speaking. So don't feel bad, sisters, if you delay the fasting. That even Aisha said, there have been times I have to make it up all the way in Sha'ban. It's not an issue. This is a very explicit question of an intimate nature. Let me try to ask it in a very generic manner. I ask the sisters to read into what is being said. So the sister is asking that while she's intimate, he is not able to satisfy her, can she self-stimulate during that time? And the correct position is that yes, it's completely halal to do so, because there is nothing haram about it. And the asl ruling is that all of these things are halal, unless something haram is explicitly mentioned. And this is not of those that which is haram. Questions, you open the floor now. Yes, go ahead.
I'd like a pig skin question. So I'm just curious, because the pig skin that's in there is been tanned and chemicals been added and so on and so forth. So it's sort of not really the recognizable form that's still because of the pig.
So that's why I said the correct opinion, because there is an alternative opinion. And the alternative opinion is that because the pig skin has completely transformed, then it is a chemical transformation. And it's as if it's not pig anymore. And in fact, this is Abu Hanifa's opinion. Imam Abu Hanifa would say that the pig skin is halal to use after it has been tanned. But this is the minority opinion. And so that's why I wanted to be safe with you. But nonetheless, I mean, if you follow that position, it's not as if it's unprecedented. There are people that have said this in our times. Yes, go ahead.
We have a traditional food that is made with fermentation process. It's not intended to make alcohol, but alcohol is like the byproduct. Is it halal to have that? Because
This food product, if you eat it in large quantities, will it intoxicate?
No.
No. Then it is halal. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, you can taste the alcohol, but you will not get dry, It's rice, when you fermented the rice, there will some juices that...
How do you ferment it? You put alcohol in it?
No, there's a certain, like yeast, you put yeast on that rice,
So some amount of fermentation occurs in many food products. Even juices have automatic fermentation going on. When you drink orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, there will be molecules that have fermented, and they are alcoholic molecules. So if there is an amount of fermentation that goes on, and the final product is not intoxicating, this would be halal. But the problem would be if you intentionally cause fermentation. In this case, some scholars would say because so apple juice, you don't cause the fermentation. It's just happening there. Grape juice, you're not causing it. If you were to take grape juice and cause fermentation, in this case, this would become haram. So if you are putting in yeast with the explicit point of bringing about fermentation and waiting for it to ferment, basically, this would be one of those substances that the scholars differ over. Because you are now intentionally causing the alcohol to be produced and wanting the taste of the alcohol. So, Allahu A'lam, I would want to avoid this. At the same time, it would not be haram, technically. Just like vanilla extract, when you put it in, it's not haram. Because the final product, if you can eat bowls and bowls of it, and it will not ferment, it will not cause you to be intoxicated, the final product is definitely halal, but should you be doing it? It's a gray area, as we said. Okay? Yes, go ahead.
How about poppy seeds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing with nutmeg. Same thing.
Okay.
That she asked for that. Go ahead, Rebecca. Gelatin, the way that it's available in most places in America, gelatin comes from cows and horses and pigs. And gelatin, if you consider gelatin to be a non-chemically transforming compound, then it would be haram for you to take gelatin from a pig. And if you're a zabiha only person, it would be haram to take from a cow or a horse. Okay? And this is my position, that the only time gelatin is halal when it comes from an animal is when the animal is halal. So gelatin that is produced in a Muslim majority land, where the animals are slaughtered, would be halal. Gelatin that is produced in America should be haram for anybody, regardless of the zabiha, non-zabiha opinion, because there is a good amount of pig in the gelatin. There are some rare exceptions where you can find gelatin that is vegetable-based. And if it is vegetable-based, it will say so on the packet. Because there are very strict vegetarians who will not buy gelatin that comes from animals. And so to cater to them, there are some products that says vegetable gelatin. If you can find that, it is clearly halal. There's even fewer products that have fish gelatin. And if you find those, they're also halal. There is something called